All right, greetings, beautiful people. All right, so in this video, I'm gonna talk about certain experience that I had, and I want to also give a shout out to Dolo, the flight boss. The reason why I saw a video of his where it talked about knowledge versus wisdom, and wisdom doesn't need knowledge, but knowledge needs wisdom, and this is very true. And the reason why is we could all have knowledge out here of certain things, and nothing wrong with, because I said knowledge is power, you know what I mean, and nothing wrong with learning anything out here, as long as you you know that. See, a lot of times, even when people talk about learning information from one another, okay, see, the whole thing is a lot of people sometimes don't have an understanding of what they have learned, and they're not able to explain what it is that they heard, or if they do repeat it, right? Let's say regurgitate information, they're not able to explain what it is that they're saying, or they might not even really make sense in what they're saying because of the fact that they're not having a clear understanding as to what it is that they're saying, okay? See, it's like when you read books and stuff like that in school, they have you do book reports and they have you do essays and whatnot based on what you have learned from what you have read or, acquired from the book or anything that you're doing. All right. And one thing I could tell you is this: we talk about, like, let's say, people channel certain deities, which are energies, certain energies. You channel certain energies. See, we have YouTube channels, right? We're channeling each other. I mean, you're tuned into my channel right now if you're watching this video, right? So you're channeling me. And in actuality, when I watch somebody else's channel, that's why they say, thanks for tuning into this channel. See, we're doing this physically through this medium of the internet. All right. Then we could do it metaphysically also, where we tune into certain energies and we channel that energy. All right. Now, one thing that is extremely important to note here is energy. Okay. And I just heard a video from Skyhopper. I've noticed he put up a lot of uploads, and I haven't kept up with his stuff. I've actually been off YouTube for a little while, but one thing he said that was actually brilliant was it's not about consuming, it's about conserving your energy. See, conserving the energy is very important, and the reason why is, let's say, for example, you're really tired, right? Physically, you're very tired. If you're physically very tired and you're watching my video and you're channeled and tuned into this information, if you're really tired, what happens? You tend to fall asleep, right? You tend to fall asleep. You'll still get the information. It's going into your subconscious mind, but you're not aware of what it is that you're absorbing. You get what I'm saying? See, it's important to maintain the awareness to know if this is information that you actually want in your subconscious mind, okay? Or let's say, because everything's a program, all right? Programming into you. When you channel energies or whatnot, it requires energy as well. See, I had this experience, and this is where I'm getting to with the topic of Dolo, the pilot man. He talked about knowledge versus wisdom. Now, see, I've had the knowledge because I've done the research on basically what the difference between astral projection, out-of-body experiences, and he also made a really good video on the difference between astral projection and out-of-body experiences. And one thing is that I already made a video on out-of-body experiences that I may have had. Now, in this particular experience, I've never really had the experience of really seeing the difference or having a realization of what the difference between an astral projection and an out-of-body experience is. I just knew by definition what it was, and I actually had the chance to experience it this time. When I had the out-of-body experience, like I said, it was literally as clear as I'm talking to you right now, with subtle differences as to things didn't feel solid. Certain things felt, to the touch, it felt weird. Okay. Now, I was dreaming, and in my dream, I was hanging out with some dude, and again, I don't know who this dude was. You know what I mean? And it's happening very often where I'm dreaming about people that I don't know now, but in my dream I know who they are. Now, ever since I was a little kid, I've always been a little bit of a prankster. I like to play jokes on people and stuff like that, and that kind of diminished through the years because I've had experiences where people, they got angry and whatnot. So I kind of stopped doing that, you know. And but it was something that I've always enjoyed doing, was playing, you know, jokes on people, being a prankster, you know what I mean. And again, you know, stuff like that just stopped. It diminished, you know what I mean. I actually it kind of went dormant because of the fact I had bad experiences with it, you know what I mean. People they didn't like it, you know what I mean, and they ended up getting mad at me and stuff like that. So I was like, I stopped doing that. But in my dream, I started to do that again. Now I was in my room actually, and it was funny because the dude fell asleep, and what I did was I kicked him off the bed, and he fell hard on the floor. Now in my dream, for some reason, what I wanted to do was I pretended I was sleeping, because if he gets up, I wanted to, in my mind, in the dream, I wanted him to think he fell on himself. I didn't really drop him. So I knocked out, right? And then he wakes up, but I'm pretending I'm asleep, but I'm peeking through like my left eye. But what I noticed that now he stood up, but he fell asleep standing up. Meaning like he got up, and then all of a sudden he was like, he started snoring standing up. So the funny thing is I noticed this, so I just laid there a second. But the moment that I said, all right, let me just lay here a second, I laid there and I started to, you know, when you're about to have the out-of-body experience, you hear the woo, 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 woo. It's like pulses in your ear. Woo, 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 woo. And it's exact, but it's in a dream. But it's exactly what it feels like when you're about to come out of body, or when you're about to have sleep paralysis. Okay, so I let it play out, but I was dreaming that this was happening, so I wanted to come out of body, took the advantage to do that. But this instant where I saw my friend standing and I laid down, this happened in a second. Like literally, I just laid down and the pulses started happening. But I think that what happened here is that it was that I was not really fully asleep, but I was having this dream. Okay, which means that I was kind of in and out of consciousness in this realm and in the spirit realm, let's say. So I think what happened was I kind of woke up physically, right? But then I started to, you know, fall asleep again, and I was having those pulses in my ear, except I wasn't fully awake. So I was still in the dream state, and I was experiencing what my body was going through in the dream while it was happening physically. And the reason I say this is because one of the times I did come out of body, I fell asleep in a weird way where my neck was kind of like trapped. It was like off the pillow. And I don't use pillows anymore, but this is when I was using pillows. And I remember when I was out of body, I felt like the whole time I'm walking, I felt like my neck was stiff. You know what I mean? But I was very restricted from moving my neck for some reason. So it's kind of like I was like in between. I was kind of experiencing what I was feeling physically in the metaphysical realm. You know what I'm saying? So in this instance, those pulses were happening to me physically, but I was experiencing it in the dream. So now I came out of body in the dream, right? I let the process happen, and I did the whole thing. I didn't try to move. What I did was I imagined myself getting up, and I happened to get up. Now I got up, and as I got up, I turned back to see myself. So I was sleeping there, but my friend was standing. Now I know this was an astral projection or whatnot, because I was looking at it exactly as it was in the dream, except now I'm very, very lucid. So, but here's the thing, the out-of-body experience didn't feel like the out-of-body experience. It literally felt like I was projecting this experience from where I was at. So when I came out, I came out of body and I saw my friend standing. From where he fell, he stood up. He's sleeping, standing up, and I'm sleeping on the bed. So now I came out of my house, because this is always what I want to do. I want to come out of my house, but this time everything was a little bit weird. Felt dreamlike. It didn't feel like I was actually feeling this experience like when I'm out of body, and I'm actually feeling it as if I was feeling it right now. So I'm coming and I'm walking, I'm looking into people's houses, and for some reason I should have just, if I knew I was in this experience, for some reason I still say, oh no, I don't want to bother these people. I don't know why. Where when I woke up out of this, I was like, yo, why didn't I just fucking like even crawl into their house, if anything? You know what I mean? But for some reason, even in the dream, you still feel like you restrict yourself from doing that because you don't want to bother people. But then yet, you know, you're in that state and you want, the first thing you want to do is interact with people because, well, I want to interact with people because I've never, every time I come out of body or have these experiences, there's never anybody around. So I'm looking in people's houses and I see people in their house. So what I do is I didn't go in their house. What I did was I just went up the block, and in my mind, I'm like, all right, I gotta just, and I'm running, but as I'm running, I feel like I want to run faster, I want to fly, and I can't do it. I have the limitations as if I was in this human existence. You know what I mean? So to some extent, I know that I was still tied, or my mindset was still attached to the fact that I was human, and I couldn't do certain things that I wanted to do, such as fly or run like supersonic speed or whatnot. But then, you know, as I'm running, and it felt like I was trying to run as fast as I can. Exactly how I would if I was in this realm. I'm trying to fastest run as I can. That your legs feel like, you know, they kind of like almost tie. You almost feel like you're going to trip over your feet because you're trying to run so fast. That's what I was doing. And the reason I was doing that was because I wanted to get to the end of the block as quick as possible where the main road is, to just kind of like go into the woods, which is where it was at. I wanted to go into the woods. And that's basically crossing the road. And I was noticing now there was a white car behind me. So as the white car approached me, I'm seeing that it was a black man driving the car. And see, I wasn't scared, but it was more of an experience where I was like, wow, man, you know, like, I was thinking, maintain my frame. I don't want to get too excited. I want to get fearful. I don't want to get anything. I want to make sure that I'm actually, you know, going through this experience to see what happens. Okay. And, for some reason, so as the car approached, I'm standing there, right? And in my head, I heard exactly this. I heard system error in the system, breach, error in the system. There's a system error in the system. I keep hearing that in my head, like a computerized voice that just keeps playing in my head, as the car was approaching, and then the moment that it said error, breach, error in the system, boom, I wake up. But that voice was in my head, clear, very clear. So I found that to be another experience that I happen to be able to document. You know what I'm saying? I write down my dreams, I write down my experiences, my out of body experiences, astral projection, or whatnot. Now this one, again, it didn't happen. It happened purposefully in the dream. So I wake up and I realized, now I'm like, wow, that was an astral projection, because it didn't feel like the out of body experience, but I was very lucid, and it felt like I was out of body, but it didn't feel the same as when I came out of body, where the experience was from where I was in my physical and feeling those pulses. I was able to come out of body, and it felt like I came out of body. So there was two subtle differences between the two. They were very similar, very, very similar, but they were not. The other one felt like when you're in a dream, pretty much a very, very lucid dream where everything looks very real in the dream, and you're pretty much controlling you're in control of yourself, what you're doing, the things that are happening and stuff like that. So I thought I'd share that part. Now, as far as the energy, this is very important. This is one thing that I've came to realize. It takes energy to even be in that state. You know what I'm saying? Now, this is why when people want to come out of body or astral project, they say that the best time to do it is when it's like 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, where it's like you get up, you go get a little bit of water, you know what I mean? Do something and then try to go back to bed, because now your body rested, right? So the energy, you could be, because it's not just physical energy, it's spiritual energy as well. See, a lot of the times, a lot of the attention that you could put into yourself, we're putting it all outside of ourselves by putting too much attention into, let's say, looking up at people, or being in a fearful state, let's say, being not being confident, because you see, those things leak your energy out because you're not in your most empowered state. Like I said, every time you have these little doubts or these little emotions that are not serving you, or you're not using these emotions, because these emotions are not bad to feel. I'm not telling you shouldn't be feeling fear or, any of that. Matter of fact, if you feel in a way where you're not confident, those are now things that you should actually use to your advantage to say, I need to change something so that I can feel confident. Or if you're in a fearful state, it puts you in an uncomfortable situation to change something that you're not doing, okay? For you to be in an empowered state. So all these emotions, okay, it's good to feel them, but it's important to be useful and transmute them to your advantage, because if you're not, then what's happening is that these are doorways for your energy to be leaked out and for you to let unfavorable energies into your space. Okay, so these are like little portals, these little gateways, I notice. Okay, now when you start to be mindful of your thoughts as the day goes by, and if you're feeling a certain way, let's say an unfavorable way, where you're feeling fearful or anxiety or stressed out about something, write it down, and then you're gonna come out with a plan as to how you can, what you can do to change that emotion to favor your experience here in this realm. Because again, these are all starting from a thought. So it's starting metaphysically. So all these things you're experiencing metaphysically are going to trickle down, and this is the experience you'll have in this realm. So I've noticed that the energy, all right, is very important to preserve. I like what I just saw that video from Skyhopper. I found it very synchronistic that he even mentioned that part. You know what I mean? And the energy, first of all, even if you look at animals are, my dog's very athletic, very active, right? But when he's not doing anything, what does he do? He's always laying down and he's just sleeping, right? So even animals, all energy, everything, your body takes the path of least resistance. So it's all about conserving the energy, right? And we waste our energy, extremely waste our energy on systems outside of ourselves that are not really doing anything for us spiritually. They may be doing something for you physically, but not anything for you spiritually. You get what I'm saying? And don't forget, what you do here physically, you're also training yourself subconsciously. Because there's been moments where I've worked so hard that I go to bed dreaming that I'm still working. What does that mean? You know what I mean? That means that that's what you're spiritually training yourself. And what are you doing? Even though you're making good money or whatnot. And I'm not against making good money, or money is very important, but when you empower yourself, this money is going to come in regardless, because now you're in a position to be able to you're going to handle certain responsibilities better. Okay, but you're also you are power, but you have to energize yourself, because the more energy you have, the more powerful you are. Why do you think people who have a lot of money, they're considered powerful people? Right? So you have to energize yourself and powerfully make yourself a spiritual being. And that's going to trickle down here, because you can make money here, right? But you can earn money, but you're putting yourself in a place where you're doing it and you're becoming powerful physically, but not powerful metaphysically. Because a lot of people may be millionaires or whatnot, but they may want to kill themselves, and they might want to do certain things because they're not mentally strong and they're not spiritually strong. You get what I'm saying? So either way, you still got to embody an energy of satisfaction, an energy that you are, that you're good. You know what I mean? Because again, these are all things you can use to your advantage, tools that you can use to advantage. The money is a tool you can use to be comfortable in this realm. So yeah, you want to have a good relationship with that energy. That's another channel for you to use to your advantage. Okay? So the relationship with money is very important, but it is still a physical energy, okay? It's not something that you're going to take with you when you leave this realm. So when you leave this realm, what is the energy and abundance that you truly are always going to have with you, right? Is your experiences, your memory, okay? Your spiritual strength, right? The light. Because the money, you dim your light the more you try to chase this light of money, okay? So I hope this video made sense. As far as channeling, everybody that we channel, we're acquiring information from, right? So you're in an experience when you are tuning into somebody's channel. You're watching what they're putting out. But the same way, you need to use discernment and intuition when you're doing it metaphysically. You do it in a physical way too. All right? Everybody outside of you is also a spirit guide, because we're all playing a human experience, but you're still spirit in a vessel. So what does that mean? Your spirit guides the same way. Okay? So I don't know if anything else I wanted to cover. You know, another thing, actually, this is another thing I wanted to talk about, and I'll do this quickly. But do you notice how you create? Well, I'll make this in another video. I'm going to talk about, like, you know, just certain things you create and how they tie into, you know, all the stories you hear outside of yourself. But like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk soon.